And a very pleasant Thursday afternoon, everybody. Meteorologist Mark Henderson here from the Weather Hub on this Thursday. It's been a quiet day for the most part thus far, albeit a little bit on the cloudy side, but we're watching out for the potential that things could take a turn for the more stormy here as we move throughout the course of the next several hours. Want to show you here the latest radar picture right now and just give you an idea of what's going on here presently. And the good news is there's not a whole lot of anything going on at this particular point in time. Satellite and radar picture right now is showing that quite a bit of cloud cover still lingers across much of the region here. However, we are starting to see some breaks in the activity. I'm going to expect those breaks to become a little bit more numerous here for the next couple of hours, but more clouds are already beginning to fill in off to the west. And there are some showers actually showing up as well on the radar picture. Nothing that's particularly ominous, at least at this particular point in time. We'll try to show you here the latest, the bigger picture here, which is showing, unfortunately, the radar is deciding not to cooperate with me, at least at this particular moment in time. So we're going to try to get that set aside here and worked out here. But I want to show some of the model data that's talking about what could be on the way here later on this afternoon and on into the evening. Here's where we are here. This is the 1 o'clock picture off our high resolution precision cast model, and this is at 2 o'clock here this afternoon, which is showing that overall things are looking to be quiet aside from a couple of sprinkles here or there. But overall, the picture looks to be quiet. We're going to step through this here hour by hour now with this precision cast technology. And this is a model that is basically updated every hour here. So we're constantly getting new data here. I just want to adjust the camera here so we can get a little bit better view. But this is the picture at 2 o'clock here this afternoon. And apologies if this is a little rough because this is kind of the first time that we're exploring with this technology and going live with this. But there's kind of a learning curve with this, but we certainly look forward to getting more comfortable with this and this becoming a little bit smoother as we go forward in time. But here's the picture at 3 o'clock, and we're going to just advance this now hour by hour and show what's expected to happen. Now, we don't anticipate any big storms here over the course of the next couple of hours, just some showers. But once we get closer to 5, 6 o'clock, now you start to see some of those stronger cells, those more intense cells that may be capable of producing some very heavy rainfall. This is when we're going to be starting to talk about the potential for hail and gusty winds. In addition to, yes, there is at least a mentionable tornado threat across the state line as well. So this is 5 o'clock, and now you'll notice as we get closer to the dinner hour and then the hours that follow, we're going to see these cells become more numerous. We're going to stop this now at 7 o'clock, and I want you to pay attention to that cell that's over Joe Davis County that massively develops. This is going to be one where I think we may have to worry about some of the gustier winds here. In fact, let's turn wind gusts on with these storms, because it's going to be at that point in time where we could be talking about some rather serious winds with those cells. All right, we got to go forward an hour once again here, but there we see, and we're going to be able to query just how gusty the winds will be at that particular point in time. Let's just step back here, closer to 5 o'clock when those first cells develop here just east of Rockford. There you're talking about the winds being somewhere in the neighborhood of 35, 36 miles per hour. So that's not severe. You need a storm to possess 58 mile per hour winds or greater in order to have them be considered severe. But then here we are with those cells developing around 7, 8 o'clock here tonight out across Joe Davis County. Now you're getting up to that 50, 53, 58 mile per hour range, or you're really close. So this is when you're talking about that borderline severe weather threat. So that's going to be the time, I think, after 7, 8 o'clock where we could be talking about that potential really starting to increase. Let's go back to the animated radar here. You'll start to see at 8 o'clock those cells becoming a little more widespread, or it's kind of evolving into a complex of thunderstorms. And once that happens, and we don't have those individual cells, we start to focus our attention less on the tornado and hail threat and more so on the gusty wind threat. You can see that these will become less and less cellular as we continue throughout time. This is the picture at 9 o'clock here tonight, showing showers and storms continuing across a good chunk of northern Illinois and southern Wisconsin. And then at 10 o'clock, you don't see those really bright whites. You do still see some of the stronger cells, but you're going to see a weakening trend. So I think our severe weather threat is going to be narrowed down to a quarter between 5 o'clock or thereabouts, and let's say 8, 9 o'clock, maybe 10 o'clock at the latest. But that doesn't mean we're done with our problems just yet, because what you'll see is that it looks as though at 11 o'clock, these storms are pushing out of the region, but not so fast. I want you to pay attention to what's going to be happening off to the west here, because we're actually going to start to see a little bit of back building take place here with these storms farther off to the west. And this is where we start to get into trouble with the potential for some flash flooding. Because now watch at 11, this is 11 o'clock. Here's midnight. New storms developing off to the west, right along the Mississippi River. And then these will start to evolve into a more organized complex. That's midnight. That's 2 o'clock. And you notice there's no progress from west to east at the back end of these storms. There's just no movement. And so when these back build and then they rain over the same area time and time and time again, that's when you start to worry about the potential for some flash flooding concerns. So that's going to be become more the problem as we get closer to the overnight hours. Then we do start to see maybe a little bit of a weakening trend as we get closer to sunup tomorrow. This is at 5 o'clock in the morning, but as we take this out just a little bit farther here, we'll start to see more development that takes place as we get closer to 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning off to the west. Now, I do think that once we get through the morning hours, we'll start to see that threat push a little bit farther to the northeast, and we should have a little bit of a break in the action. At least that's the hope. Let's just go back a couple of hours. We stopped this at 5 o'clock in the morning. We're going to go now to 6 o'clock and then 7 o'clock. By about 7, 8 o'clock, I think we'll start to see a little bit of a lull in the activity. And overall, I think tomorrow is going to feature a good amount of dry time. We're just going to keep cycling this through here. Here we are at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, and then here's noon tomorrow. We'll allow the atmosphere to heat up once again, especially considering there will be a good amount of sunshine. The atmosphere will be hotter. It will be more humid. It will have more energy to work with. So it's going to actually raise the chance of some of those stronger storms here tomorrow afternoon and then again tomorrow evening. And we may do this all over again with regard to a severe weather threat during the afternoon and evening, and then a heavy rainfall threat in the hours that come. We're now at 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, and you can see showers and thunderstorms fairly widespread. I do think that there could be a little bit of a break in the action, but then another round of showers and storms could come through tomorrow, then overnight into early Saturday morning. So it's just this barrage, one round after another, after another, after another, that could spell some rather significant concerns from a flash flooding standpoint. This is taking us into the overnight hours tomorrow night or early on Saturday morning. But again, just to kind of take us back here to where we are right now, not a whole lot going on at this particular point in time. We're going to turn the model data off here for a time. Let's see if we got the radar up and running here just yet. There's the radar picture. Now just showing just a couple of sprinkles, nothing that's overly concerning. And again, I think the models have a pretty good handle on this, because here's this high resolution model showing the rainfall here at 1 o'clock. And that's pretty darn close to the reality of what's happening right now. So we do have a good amount of confidence that this model knows what it's talking about, or has a good handle on things right now. And when a model has a good handle on what's going on right now, you feel good about its ability to predict what's going to be happening as we move forward in time. So again, this is the very latest run of that model that just came down at 1 o'clock this afternoon. So let's step through this hour by hour. Here's 2 o'clock, nothing really to worry about. 3 o'clock, just a couple of sprinkles and showers. Same story as we get into the 4 o'clock hour as well. But that's again when we start to see maybe a few of those cells begin to develop, and then they could very well intensify as we get closer to the dinner time hour. They'll eventually become more widespread. The threat for severe weather will likely go up here from very late this afternoon through early in the evening. And this is kind of interesting to see. This is actually a new run of this model that's coming in. And my first chance of seeing this, anytime you see kind of a Boeing structure like we do here, that kind of that curve, that arc that you see stretching from southwest Wisconsin in through Stevenson County and then back down toward the Quad Cities, that's a classic sign of a gusty wind setup. But then you also get these little cells that develop out ahead of the line. These are the ones that I think could produce the brief spin-up tornadoes. And so that's why we do have to put that possibility, at least, on the table here later this afternoon and more so than into the early evening hours. Here we are at 8 o'clock as that line races through the Rockford Metro, and you'll notice that just about all of us get in on the action according to this latest high-resolution run of our Precision Cast model. And again, all of us getting in on the action here through about 9, 10 o'clock. And then that's when we start to see that back building begin to take place. New storms developing out across northwestern portions of Illinois. And then as we go through the midnight hour and then beyond that, you see that back edge of the precipitation really not making any progress whatsoever. This is 1 o'clock. No progress from west to east. Everything just kind of parked. 2 o'clock. The back edge still in eastern Iowa. So it's just going to be a barrage of storm after storm after storm. Now, we don't know exactly where the heaviest rain will set up. We're going to show you here this computer model's estimate of the heaviest of the rainfall. But right now, that corridor could shift north or south even by 15, 20 miles, maybe even less than that. And so the threat for some very heavy rainfall, I think it goes without saying, that threat is going to be with just about all of us. It's just going to take a matter of time for us to really be able to see just where that little corridor of the heaviest rain will set up. But here we are, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, and we're still seeing a very steady ribbon of showers and thunderstorms going through much of the region. So let's talk about total precipitation here. We're going to start it at 3 o'clock. Obviously nothing doing by then. Here we are at 4 o'clock. You start to see one of those little blips that shows up over Stevenson County. Some of those heavier cells starting then to show up here closer to 5 o'clock. And then we start to see these colors start to fill in as you get closer to 7 or 8 o'clock this evening. Now, here's where we are at 8 o'clock. And this is where you kind of get an idea that this is when you could start to see some of the heavier rainfall. What's nice about the technology that we have here at the Weather Hub is you're able to cue just exactly how much the models are suggesting may fall up until that time. So this model suggests that northwestern portions of Ogle County could see as many as 2.5 inches of rain here by 8 o'clock. And in southern Joe Davis County, northern Carroll County, again, you're between 2 and 2.5 inches. Now, I want to be absolutely clear here and say that this does not mean that you are going to see that amount of rain in that spot by that time. What I want this to illustrate to you is that it shows that there's the potential that you could get some extremely heavy rain wherever these heavier cells do show up. The rainfall could be extremely, extremely heavy. And basically anybody in our region, anybody in the state line region could very well see that number of rain over a period of a couple of hours. Now, this is only 8 o'clock. This is pretty impressive by then. But as we cycle through, and I'm going to go through this a little bit more quickly, look at how much more widespread this heavy rain corridor becomes here. We're now only at 2 o'clock in the morning. Now, again, I don't want this to go to say that this is how much rain we're going to get. This is almost kind of a worst case scenario. But I just wanted to use it to spell out the potential that's there. This atmosphere is going to become laden with moisture, and there's going to be the possibility, if not the probability, that there are some widespread 1 to 2 inch totals, and there could be some embedded 3, 4, or 5 inch totals. This is not a guarantee that this is going to happen. This just kind of goes to show the potential that's there for these storms, especially if you see that back building take place and the same areas get hit over and over and over again. But by the time we get to 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, you're looking at a massive corridor right in northern Illinois and southern Wisconsin, where there could be some extremely, extremely heavy rainfall. So that is going to be something that I really think we do need to be on the lookout for. Let's quickly here see if we can do a little hail size calculation here. The models are suggesting, if we can see, if we fast forward this here, and I don't know if we can see it on our screen. Yeah, we can. Right along the Mississippi River, there is going to be the possibility that these cells will perhaps contain a little bit of hail. How much in the way of hail doesn't appear as though we're talking about anything extreme as we query that. So the hail threat, it's there. It doesn't appear to be overly high. That's at least at the surface. If we take this up to the entire atmosphere, there could very well be hailstones coming here up in the atmosphere. A lot of those melting though before getting down here to ground level. So something to watch for, but then also something that I don't think is a major concern. What I've turned on now is lightning. I don't think we have much in the way of concerns over lightning here. This is at 4 o'clock, and you see that initial cell that develops in Stevenson County at 4 o'clock could produce some lightning. If you're looking for that very vivid light show, you're looking at closer to 8, 9 o'clock where we start to see the lightning potential really rise. And then once you get past 10, 11 o'clock, there you start to see again that back building that takes place farther to the west. That is certainly something that is worth watching out for. All right, I'm going to turn the model data off here, and let's just talk real quickly here before we come to an end here, the Storm Prediction Center and the severe weather potential. Now, this is not a classic severe weather setup. We'll be absolutely clear on that. It is a level 1 out of 5, which is a marginal risk for severe weather. It's the lowest risk for severe weather, but it's a risk that needs to be discussed nonetheless. Level 1 out of 5. The big takeaway, though, for us here today is that gusty winds, probably our main threat, hail, somewhat of a threat, and yes, tornadoes, especially early on when you have those discrete cells, those individual cells, that's where you can get those little spin-ups that take place. We can actually go through and individualize the threat for us. This is the potential for tornadoes. That's only 2%, so that's not particularly high. Hail, that's very low. It's about a 5% chance, and gusty winds also in that pretty low category. But here's where we want to pay some attention to, because we're not out of the woods after tonight. In fact, tomorrow's severe weather threat goes up even higher. That goes up to a level 2 out of 5, which is a slight risk for severe weather. And this is when you're starting to talk about some of the more organized clusters of strong to severe thunderstorms. This is where we could find ourselves getting into a little bit more in the way of trouble. Tornado risk, again, not particularly high, but not out of the question. Hail risk doesn't appear to be great tomorrow, but I do think that tomorrow, especially in the afternoon and evening, we're looking at an elevated risk for some very gusty winds. And yes, we're going to have to deal with the potential for some very heavy rainfall as well. In fact, we can pull up the Weather Prediction Center's excessive rainfall outlook here. This is the day 1 outlook. So to the right of this, let me try to move this for us here. We got to zoom this out just a little bit. I apologize about that. Basically, the entire region, you see 2 green lines as I zoom this out. The first green line is where there's the marginal risk for heavy rainfall. So that's east of Chicago. But anywhere to the left of this green line, that is a level 2 out of 5, level 2 out of 4. This only goes up to 4 levels. This is a slight risk for extremely heavy rainfall. And that has actually just been upgraded. In fact, let me go on my my browser here if I can. That may have just been updated here, because earlier on it appeared to have covered just parts of the region. But yes, that has been upgraded to cover the entire northern Illinois and southern Wisconsin territory in that slight risk. So that is an upgrade. So that means there's an upgraded flood potential. And that is certainly, that jives very well with some of the model data that I've been looking at here, and the model data that I showed you here with showing that extremely heavy rainfall showing up right in that northern Illinois and southern Wisconsin corridor. Tomorrow, again, this is the slight risk area. So this is the level 2 out of 5, and that basically covers all of northern Illinois and southern Wisconsin. So we're going to have to watch out for the potential for some very heavy rainfall again tomorrow and tomorrow night. And I do think it's even possible that Saturday could be of concern as well. Here's the day 3 heavy rainfall outlook. That goes down to a level 1 marginal risk, but it just goes to show that the heavy rainfall risk is not going away anytime terribly soon. So something we're going to have to watch out for, even if severe weather doesn't end up materializing. I think the heavy rainfall and the flooding risk is certainly one that we'll have to watch out for moving forward. Radar's starting to pick up just a little bit more here right now. A couple of cells is looking to start to show up over Ogle County, maybe one over far northeastern portions of Joe Davis County. Obviously nothing that at the time has any threat of being severe, but we'll just have to keep a close eye on the radar here moving forward over the next several hours. So, folks, I want to thank you for joining me here on YouTube. If you're joining us through Facebook via the link that I provided to this, this is our YouTube channel at Mark Henderson's Weather Hub. And we will be posting live videos here. The problem here right now is with Facebook on the Weather Hub page, we have to wait 60 days from the page's inception to be able to go live directly on Facebook. So we kind of have to do this in this more complicated way. So live videos for now, at least for probably the next month, are going to be found on YouTube. And so make sure that you subscribe to this page and follow this page as well, because this is going to be your source for live video. We will post links to this live video on Facebook. I just won't have the opportunity to interact as much as perhaps I'd like to. In fact, I'm trying to find a way here if I can bring up the chat in here. I thought that there was a way to be able to monitor the chat, but I don't want to waste your time while we're on here. But I do think that it is a possibility that we'll be able to monitor the chat as we go forward in time here as well. We'll work on that here. Again, this is kind of a work in progress. This is our first live video, but it won't be the last. In fact, as we get closer to the storms actually developing, or once the storms do develop, we'll come back on and do another live, especially if the situation seems to warrant it. So thanks so much for joining. Again, if you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel, because this is going to be your primary source for live videos, at least for the next month. From there on out, we're going to be able to find a way that we can actually simulcast these both on YouTube and on Facebook Live simultaneously. That's just not an option right now. Facebook does not make that an option for us right now. But that's going to do it for us for now. Thank you so much for following the Weather Hub here on YouTube. I appreciate you following on Facebook as well. If you haven't followed both, please follow both, just to make sure that you are getting all the information you need and when you need it. Always a pleasure to be with you. Thanks so much for being with us, and take care and stay safe. Bye-bye now.